So we are privileged to have Shane History with us. So we'll be talking about the business agility. We'll start off with Shane giving us a little bit introduction about business agility uh, and the IC Agile perspective as well. Then we'll open up for the question and answers. Okay, over to you, Shane. And just before Shane takes over, if people have any questions, probably they can type in the chat window and raise an hand using the Zoom controls, and I'll be unmuting them so that they can ask questions. So over to you, Shane.
Thank you very much, JP, and yeah, welcome, folks. Thanks for taking time out on your Saturday morning to listen to me today. Business agility in 2020. What is business agility? At its core, business agility is the ability of an organization to respond to change faster than the rate at which that change is happening to it, and to do so in a way that is sustainable and delivers a long-term value, not just in terms of the raw pure monetary profit, but also going beyond, looking truly into the nature of societal value and value for the stakeholder community. The Business Agility Institute has a wonderful model that looks at the domains of business agility, and that puts at the core the customer. And that's one of the biggest shifts. If we think, and Steve Deming talks about this a lot, Steve Denning talks about this a lot in his work on moving towards agile businesses in the 21st century. One of the big shifts is changing what's in the center, what is the true driver of the organization. Historically, this has been the needs of the shareholders, the executives, the company, and it's moving much more now to putting the customer at the center. We still, of course, care about the needs of shareholders and other stakeholders. The workforce are the people who make it possible to look after and deliver value for our customers, and a result of that value to the organization. And the value chains that we make. Our organizations today are much broader than being just a single entity in the center. It is that deep understanding that we are interconnected in many, many different ways. The BAI, the Business Agility Institute model, talks about the 3 areas of leadership agility, operational agility, and then for the individuals, the agile mindset, the growth mindset, ownership and accountability, and excellence in our craft. In the operational area, it's about that enterprise agility, process agility, structural agility. And then in the leadership space, the shift from management to leadership fundamentally, but also leaders being, first of all, understanding their own growth needs and self-managing, and then developing others, and then looking at strategic agility. At IC Agile, we have a business agility roadmap that looks across these areas. So if I can share my screen and pull out this image, which is the IC Agile Learning Roadmap, which talks about agility and leadership. At its core, we have the foundations, business agility foundations, and this is targeted at anybody in the organization who needs to support this new way of thinking and working. Then we have 3 tracks in the business agility space. The first one is that agility in leadership, looking at leading with agility, understanding yourself, going deep into what leadership is and isn't, Then people development. How, as a leader, do I allow and enable and support other people in their growth? And adaptive strategy. How do we take these ideas and be able to adapt and respond? So the adjectives that are in here, it's about that agility, adaptiveness, responsiveness. Then in the operating with agility space, we have the areas of the organization that need to change as the whole business becomes agile. We know in product delivery that the agile delivery space, we've got that under control. If we're building knowledge worker products, if we're building IT products, software intensive products, we know how to do that now. And that's where Agile for Software is there. These are the patterns to solve those problems exist and have been applied. Many organizations don't apply them, and many that do apply them do it badly, but that's there. What we're learning now, and what is relatively new, is moving this beyond agile for software into the other areas of the business. And in the IC Agile world, we've looked at agility in finance. One of the things that we know is that as the product delivery aspects and the interaction in our organization gets more and more rapid and iterative, incremental, our financing models have to adapt and respond as well. We can't plan a year, 18 months in advance in the highly volatile and complex environment that is the 21st century business environment. And the state that the world is in today with the COVID-19 pandemic is just one example of organizations needing to adapt. Many people would have spent months and years of effort in the last part of 2019 planning their budgets for 2020. None of those budgets survived the first couple of months of this year. Everything has changed in the world. An adaptive finance, an agile finance model says, how do we learn from this change and adapt and respond? So it's not just, for instance, a finance team running Scrum. It's what is the mindset of agility in finance, and it draws on things like the principles of beyond budgeting and how do we remain compliant and still be adaptive. And there's a whole lot of stuff in that space. Likewise, agility in marketing as well. If we are able to release product on a much more frequent basis, then marketing cannot be a bottleneck. It has to be part of that adaptive responsiveness. And agility in HR, in the way that we engage, employ, reward, support the people in our organization. We know that value in our organizations today is generated through the people, the creativity of the people in the organization, not through the mechanistic efforts of labor, but through the creative thought processes of knowledge workers today. Now, mechanical labor still exists, of course, but most of the value is in that creative work that we see today. How do we adapt our organizations? If we're asking people to work collaboratively in cross-functional teams, well, we must then change the way, for instance, that we work out our bonus and reward structures. Because if I'm paid a bonus because I'm the individual hero, but we're asking for team collaboration and communication and effective teamwork, as we know is the the best model for delivering value. We want that diversity of thought and background and experience, and sharing that does result in more creative solutions to problems and more creative work. But then we need to change even things as simple as our reward structures, so that we reward the behaviors that are around that collaborative communicative work, as opposed to the individual hero. That's just one aspect of the agility in HR. The next one is the adaptive organization design. Organizations themselves need to be able to flex and respond. The traditional command and control hierarchical structure is good in some contexts, but most organizations today, especially those that are working at that, in that dynamic space, need to have an underlying dynamism which comes through an organization design that allows those changes. Product management in the 21st century is different. And again, it is about that responsiveness. It's the rapid feedback and learning. It's being close to our customers and learning from that, and our portfolios. How do we manage at the organization level what work we are doing and what work we don't want to do? How do we break some of the bad habits of our businesses around starting hundreds of initiatives and slowing everything down so that nothing actually finishes? The mantra that has been around in the agile software development space for quite a while of stop starting in order to start stopping, prioritizing work at the overall portfolio level, not just down inside the single value stream or the single initiative. And then how do we support organizations to adopt these new mindsets, these new philosophies? And that's what the enterprise coaching for agility track is all about. And that's looking at how we support organizations through their change, and how we coach and mentor and guide the people at all levels, particularly working with leaders to help them become fundamentally adaptive and responsive. So for me, business agility at its core is enabling the people in the organization to focus on the right things, to change direction rapidly, to deliver exceptional value for our clients, and sustainably deliver profitable results for our organization in humanistic working environments. So JP, does that answer the thoughts about what is business agility?
Okay, thanks for that, Sean. That's really great insights into overall insights into what business agility is, and how does IC Agile look into it, and then the learning roadmap as well. So now we'll open up for the questions. Probably people who have questions can try to unmute themselves. If they are not able to, just raise a hand. I will unmute so that you can go ahead and ask questions. You can also make use of chat window and type in your questions. So there is a first question. How does value stream differ between product and project?
Okay, well, I will confess a bias. I am one of the co-authors of the book #No Projects. So fundamentally, projects are a short-term funding mechanism. By definition, a project is a short-term, limited time span, defined beginning, defined end piece of work that does result in something. And in most organizations, these projects produce a product, and we then hand the product over to a maintenance team or a support team, and they look after it. Now, if you are building a road or a a building, it makes perfect sense. In the civil engineering physical building space, the concept of one group of specialists who've got deep knowledge, specific skills, working on coming up with a product and then passing it on to the people who will use and maintain that. That makes sense in that physical environment because the skill sets are distinctly different. The competencies between the builders and the maintainers, supporters, users are substantively different. But when we think of knowledge worker products, and particularly in the software realm, the skill set of the people that build the product and the people that maintain the product is identical. They need the same competencies and knowledge. So what happens if we have a project culture that says we'll bring together a group of people, we'll form them into a project team on a temporary basis, we'll keep them together just long enough to really learn a lot about this domain, to learn how well they work together to become a high-performing team. We'll let them build this thing, and then we will disband this team. We will pass this knowledge-based product over to another group of people, hope that the contextual understanding of why we did all of this work and the many thousands and hundreds of thousands of decisions that we made when coming up with this product will somehow be conveyed. And now we're asking a new group to maintain and support this product. And the product itself is inherently malleable and subject to change. In our software environment, you're going to spend at least 3 times as much over the useful life of the product, maintaining, enhancing, and supporting it, as you will building it in the first place. So that knowledge that we acquired and we built up through deep investigation and discussion and a lot of hard labor in that build activity is lost. And how many times do we see when project teams hand over to the support team, the product degrades, and the next release, everything slows down because the people who are now maintaining it have got to spend so much time learning, relearning all of the stuff that the delivery team did. So the idea of no projects, of the value stream-based approach, is that the people who build the product become the people who maintain and support the product. The DevOps mantra of you build it, you run it. Because it's not about the short-term funding cycle, it's about the long-term product. So the value stream philosophy is that there's a group of people with a wide variety of skill sets who are collaboratively working together to not just build, but to maintain, enhance, improve, support, adapt this single product over its whole useful life. Now, the people in that group can and will evolve. This isn't we're sentencing somebody to 20 years working on one product for the rest of their life. But the evolution of the people on those teams is a managed cycle on and off based around what skills people want to acquire. And the team, the competencies are not just the competencies of the build component, it's all of the work. So it's marketing, it's support, it's the maintenance, it's the care and feeding of the whole product ecosystem. It may be as far as sales. It might include even elements of finance and legal, depending on the nature of the product. So does that answer that question?
Yes, sir. Yes. Thanks a lot.
JP, I have a question.
Sure, go ahead, Karan.
Hi, Shane. Thanks for the insight. Shane, I've seen how if we do a business agility, how beautiful and how amazing products are built. In my previous experience, I've seen that. But in my present assignment, present where I work, I see software people are so much interested, but HR or marketing, they are not, right? So how do we create that awareness? Is it like from the leadership it should come that, they should be in part and parcel of what we do, or what can be done in this? Because we know what advantages or what benefits we have seen. Is there anything what we can do?
I'm going to go yes, and yes, it needs leadership. Yes, it needs groundswell support. One of the one way to tackle or to bring it to people's attention is to ask, how well are things working for you at the moment? Let's explore the number of organizations. There's a meme going around. You ask, there's a survey. Which executive was most responsible for your switch to business agility? And it's CIO, CTO, CEO. COVID-19. That adapting to what's happening on the fly, the COVID-19, what has just happened around us in the world, that's the biggest driver. It's it's helping leadership, and it's also helping people in those areas of the business understand that there is the need, and there is a better way. They've been taught this is the way, the mechanistic, hierarchical 20th century approach, which worked well in the mechanistic, hierarchical 20th century organization. As we were moving through the mechanical era, it was really a sensible way of working. It's no longer the case, because our value in the economy is no longer truly in those mechanistic aspects. That's the stuff that can be and has been automated and roboticized. The value now is in that creative work. So when we have conversations with people in marketing, in finance, in HR, it's talking to them about, okay, what is your reality today? The predictive forecasting planning approach that you were using is broken. You can't replan quick enough to adapt. So how do we take a different philosophy? And it is at a core level, and we've learned this through Agile for Information Technology. It's a mindset of agility. It's not about the practices. It's that organizational philosophy that pervades. We talk a lot about being agile rather than doing agile. So it's how do we convey to these people who care deeply and want to do a great job. This is something that's really important for us to understand. The people in marketing and in finance, they're not resistant because they are being deliberately obtuse. They're concerned because they want to do an amazing job, and they've only got one set of tools at the moment to help them. So giving them the awareness of the different sets of tools that are part of this practices of the Agile organization, but underlying that is that philosophical approach of agility in mindset. So helping them understand what it means to be will help them also come along on the journey to do. Does that help, Karen?
Yeah, right. Thanks, Shane.
We have another question, Shane. Kiran asks, how agility help for a complicated or legacy software project for a quick delivery?
How agility can help for a complicated or legacy project for a quick delivery. Agile doesn't promise quick. What Agile does promise is the ability to prioritize and to deliver incrementally. So now we've got to look at that legacy or complicated product and see what, if we're truly dealing with a large legacy product that maybe has embedded technical debt, using architectures that are not inherently additive, then there will be a conversion point where we start and patterns like the strangler pattern, where we slowly replicate. We take the big ball of mud architecture and slice it up in small pieces and start delivering value in increments, using modern architectures, using maybe even modern languages, different approaches. But this is a complicated problem at best. It's not going to be easy. What agility will give you is the ability to start, do work, get feedback, adapt. And the idea of frequent releases and learning from our customers. But where you are dealing with a large, complicated legacy product, it is going to take time to put those hooks around the edges. Now, I would encourage a prioritized backlog approach where we look at what is the single most important piece of value, either it's the highest used, highest risk, or highest return on investment piece. Do that first, get feedback, see, and then slowly, slice by slice by slice, over time, change that legacy product to an adaptive modern product. So you can get value early, but it's still going to take chunks of time. And it's the learning that happens in the feedback. Karen, does that help?
Yeah, Shane, that's very useful. That means incremental prioritization and deliveries, that will definitely help for those legacy softwares. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. And there is a book on refactoring legacy code. There's Martin Fowler's book on legacy, but also Ola Ellenstam has written a great book on the Mikado method for refactoring legacy code.
Thanks for that, Shane. The next question is from Krishna Prasad. He asks, how can you define a DevOps value stream in simple terms?
A DevOps value stream it starts with this concept of you build it, you run it. All of the skills, all of the competencies, all of the people that we need to build a product are involved in building and maintaining that product. Because the product itself is never done, it's never finished until we take it out of use. If we think of almost any software product today, they're constantly evolving and adapting. This is the key thing, and DevOps gives us that ability to adapt and respond. So we reduce the handoffs. We look for cross-functional collaboration, short cycles, and we bring into the team who are doing the work all of the skills that we need to get that work done. So one of the biggest things that DevOps does is it removes the handoffs and the bottlenecks from this team to other teams. Within that team, we've got all of the skills and competencies. And if that means we need a UX designer in the team, we have a UX designer in the team. If it means we have a lawyer in the team, we have a lawyer in the team. So we're looking to get all of those competencies working closely together and removing the barriers to effective communication so that they can speed up. That's fundamentally what DevOps is about. Now, in the Accelerate book, there's a whole lot of the technical descriptions and much of Gene Kim's work looking at, in the software realm, how you build it. And I'm not going to go into that, but I will point you to books like the Phoenix Project and to the Accelerate book to explore the technical elements of how would you actually do that. But at its core, it's about bringing all of the skills together, removing the barriers to communication, and enabling them to be effective.
Okay, thanks for that. The next question is from Nitin. He says, what methods we can apply apart from Scrum and Kanban in other departments, say HR and marketing?
Here it is, the consultant answer. It depends. What is the problem that they are facing? Does the work lend itself to fixed cycles or iterations? Then maybe something like Scrum is going to be effective. If it doesn't, then an approach such as Kanban. If we go down to the core principles, it's what are the things that we can do in the organization, in that area of the business, that are going to make all work visible, that is going to reduce the handoffs as much as possible, and provide an opportunity for rapid feedback. If you've got that, then you can figure out whatever the practices are that you need. As a managing framework, Kanban is a pretty good approach where work is prioritized and constantly flowing. If you are working in areas where you can plan for 1 or 2 weeks in advance, then one of the iterative models like Scrum brings some additional framing, particularly around the planning activities and the showcase and retrospective type activities. If you're using a continuous flow approach, you still want to regularly inspect the way that you are working. So schedule in the retrospective as one of the items of work. So it really does come down to what is the work that is being done, what is the nature of that work, and then put the appropriate practices to that.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Okay, there is another question from Karan. What should we expect from agile coaches in organizational agility?
What should we expect from agile coaches? Care, support, guidance, hard questions. if we think of the framework for agile coaching, one of the most common is the one that Lisa Adkins put into her book from in the Agile Coaching Institute, and she talks in there about the competencies of agile coaching. At the top, and it's, let me find the image. So this image here from the Agile Coaching Institute, and it's in Lisa Adkins' book, and it's released Creative Commons. This talks about the model of the competencies for agile coaching, and it applies at whatever level the coach is working, whether it's work with an individual, whether it's with a team, whether it's across multiple teams, whether it's at the organizational executive level guiding the overall work. At the top, an agile coach needs to be a deep agile lean practitioner. They need to understand not just the practices of any one framework, but the intent behind. They have to have the values and the principles of the Agile Manifesto pretty much engraved on their soul in letters of fire. It's just so deeply embodied in this is how we approach the world. Then, because and it's about knowing the why behind any of the practices, being able to articulate the intent and the purpose rather than just how you do it. Then the 4 competency areas of professional coaching, facilitating, teaching, and mentoring. And professional coaching is about asking powerful questions and helping individuals and teams find their own solutions to existing problems. Now that's one of the stances the agile coach needs to be able to take, is if the individual, the team have the knowledge to solve the problem themselves, then often that powerful questioning of the coach stance will free up the coachee, whether that coachee is a team or an individual, to not just find the solution for themselves, but to own the solution for themselves. Likewise, the facilitator stance says that this group that I am facilitating is naturally intelligent, generative, and resourceful. That's one of the concepts from organization relationship system coaching, that this group of people has the skills, competencies, knowledge, and my job as a facilitator is to hold the space for them to be most effective. So in the coaching stance, I'm working typically with a single individual at one or other level, maybe with a team. In the facilitator stance, it's almost always with a group of people together, helping them towards a shared goal. But they have their shared goal, and I am providing that frame and holding them in a space of safety. Then over on the other side, we have the teaching and mentoring. This is if the individual or the group does not have the knowledge to solve the problem themselves or how to do something, well, my job is to bring that to them. As a teacher, I'm saying this is how you can do that. As a mentor, I'm saying, in my experience, here are a few things that I have seen. Which one do you think will work best for you? So in that role of the agile coach, I'm doing a collaborative dance between these stances all the time that I'm working with an individual in a team or an organization. And then at the base, They talk about the technical mastery, business mastery, or transformation mastery, that you need to have depth in at least one of those areas. It would be unrealistic for every agile coach to have depth in all of those, because this is about having had deep experience to be able to bring to particularly the mentoring stance, so that I can help the organization, help people in that specific area. So for myself, my deepest skills are in that business mastery area. And I know that I don't have the depth that many of my colleagues have working at the organizational transformation level. So I know that if there is a need for the deep transformational mastery, I am not the right coach. I need to find somebody else to work with this team. So that self-awareness of the coach is another hugely important aspect. Again, for myself, I've got reasonable technical mastery, but I haven't written code in Anger in nearly 10 years now. I understand the concepts, but I would not be the right person to coach a team who do not have technical knowledge of DevOps if they needed to build that knowledge. I would, again, being self-aware, I would look for somebody who has got that deep technical knowledge, and I would bring them to the team and to the organization. So one of the things we expect of the Agile coach is that self-awareness of where are my strengths, and then what is the stance that I'm stepping in and out of in the interaction with this group. And this applies at every level in the organization. So working with leadership on helping the organization as a whole transform to completely new ways of thinking and working, I will apply those 4 stances in a collaborative dance with people at that level. I can also work down at the level of an individual team member, or maybe with a small cross-functional team, and again weave in and out of the appropriate stance for the moment. Does that make sense, Karen?
Yeah. I think, Shane, what we are also trying to embark a journey where we are identifying internal coaches. So that's why I was very keen when we are trying to develop skills like this. I think I'm using this, but what you said was very powerful as well, because not every coach is very good in one or the other areas, and we are trying to develop. And I think it is a journey still going on. But thank you.
Oh, it's a long journey. I've been on a coaching journey for 10 years, and I've got a long way to go still.
Thank you. Thanks, Shane.
Yeah, Prashant, probably you can go ahead.
Yeah.
To something.
Hi, Shane. Hi, JP. Thanks for giving me that opportunity to speak, actually. So I can see like business agility as a chain of activities, chain of link in a particular organization to achieve the agility so that it can impact everybody uh, according to the definition as given by Shane. So I can see like the links are more than what we can expect, actually. Even if you are agile, you have good agility at the team level, at the business level, then there are other teams, all the teams. For example, HR should also be part of that. I fully agree on that, since I have seen my experience, like in my organization, they put a freeze like after like 6 months. So whenever there are a couple or even more than more resources are leaving the organization, so recruitment of the new or their replacement become very tough, actually, since like they give window of 4 months. So in 4 months, like organization is not able to finalize the candidate, even if they finalize like 2-3 candidates. So most of them don't join that. So again, then there is a like freeze on requirement and all that stuff. So again, we come to the same point actually. So that impacts team agility as well also like during our functioning, we are facing various impediments. For example, facing environment related impediments. Many of the times, like there are so many teams, operations teams. When we raise a particular request for example, if we need some access to the UAT environment and something like that, they say like we don't have access, we can give you access on AWS environments or something, some other environments. So that impacts sometimes situations become to a that point actually, where like we are like we don't find anybody to contact in that case. So that becomes really tough. Apart from that, like when we are interacting with other teams, for example upstream systems or downstream systems, so we face situations. Apart from that, there are other issues like agility that impacts like the like remote location of teams, and so that also impacts agility a lot. Since like for example, recently I came an example like where we need to set up a meeting with Australia, India and US teams, and we were not able to find any time for that. So the chain is bigger than what we can expect actually. So the problem at ground level is much more grave than we think actually. So but again, we need to evaluate every time when we are going for organization agility. It is a continuous journey, this is not a destination. So every time you will find something like where you can improve your agility. So this is my own experience, and I have faced like this is a continuous journey. That's what I say, like, we need to continuously work on that. It can sometimes it can take years. So yes, the problem challenge is bigger than what we can expect.
There is no magic wand for business agility. In the same way, there was never a magic wand for agile for software development. It takes a long time for organizations to adapt. We're asking people to change not just their way of working, but their way of thinking. So we need to help people on this journey. And it's a long journey. It's not an overnight magical transformation. It is a steady, continuous cycle of short, small improvements, and we get better and we get better, and we'll learn something new and we'll change our way of working. And this way of working will be slightly better than what we used to have, and then we'll change it some more. And over time, we see big shifts. But those big shifts are best achieved in short, small, incremental Kaizen philosophy approaches.
Those are actually ingrained part of the thought process or mindset, lean mindset, and all those we are like taking, like assuming like those are part of all part of like mindset which are integrated in one's mindset. So those there is no compromise on that built-in quality and all that stuff that should always be there in our mind. Yeah, thanks Shane, thanks JP for giving me the opportunity.
Thanks Prashant.
Thanks Prashant. Okay. Okay, next question is from Vishal. Can agility helpful for fixed cost projects?
Yes. If we think of, again, if we're talking about agile for project delivery, for building those products, yes, you can use an agile approach to achieve a fixed cost. You might even achieve a fixed time. Trying to achieve a fixed time, fixed cost, fixed scope is impossible. Always has been, always will be. It's been a lie. Of creative knowledge worker environments, any fixed cost, fixed time, fixed scope project has never delivered all three. Never will. Because there's so much uncertainty involved. And if we look at the studies of those projects, the analysis that has been done, the large waterfall projects, according to the Standish Group surveys, are considered successful 6% of the time. 94% of them do not deliver the anticipated business value, do not fit within budget, do not fit within scope.
Those numbers are very huge, 94%, right? Yeah.
We've got to stop lying to ourselves and to our customers.
True, that's true. Okay. Next question is enterprise agility same as business agility?
Yeah, fundamentally. In my mind, it is. It's the so the enterprise becoming agile, the business becoming agile. It's same thing. It is about how do we adopt the mindset of agility within our organization and across the whole organization slowly over time.
Okay, that's great. Next question is from Nitin. What would be the next focus of industry in this journey after business agility?
Who knows? We are so early in the adoption of business agility thinking that I've got no idea what's next. And some of it's going to be brand labels and marketing hype. And there's a certain amount of that going on today with business agility as well. Every consulting firm is fundamentally saying to you, they're using business agility as a marketing ploy. I will say many of them are not terribly agile, but some of them are really good. The brand is very attractive. What's the next attractive brand going to be? I don't know. Now, if we look at what's happened in the agile for software development space, there's a lot of controversy at the moment about people saying, well, agile has been diluted and it's no longer at its core. No, it's not. We've learned a lot in the 20 years since the Agile Manifesto was written. And the practices and the way of working that were appropriate at the beginning of the 21st century in 2001, when the authors were struggling with the project environment and with the with software development as being the bottleneck in our processes. Well, we've actually figured that out. There's a lot of organizations who have got on the agile bandwagon and are not truly agile in their thinking. I think it was 94% in the latest version 1 survey, organizations said we use an agile approach to building software. In my mind, there's a lot of tragile out there. Tragile is a term that Phil Abernathy coined, and it's beautiful. It explains the veneer of agility, but no mindset shift. Well, we're going to see the same happen in the business agility space. There will be a proportion of organizations who really get it, who make the philosophical mindset shift, and they will succeed. There will be some who don't bother, who want to continue down their very traditional approach. I think that these are going to be dinosaurs, and they are in danger of extinction. And in between will be the organizations that bring on slowly some of these ideas, and they're going to get a little bit better, they won't achieve the really exceptional results that the truly agile in mindset organizations do manage, because and we're going to see those differences. And if you look at the Accelerate book by Gene Kim and Nicole Forsgriff, and I always forget the third, and Jez Humble. If we look at their book, they actually they've done deep research and seen the difference, and they're looking at DevOps implementations in IT projects. But they see massive differences in organizations that truly do get the mindset versus those that do some of the practices versus those who pretend. They put the veneer of agility over, but nothing changes. Well, that slim group who really make the change, they're the ones that we want to emulate. And we're going to see the same sort of bell curve, I believe, in business agility. There will be some who do it well, some who kind of do it and get some benefit, and some who either don't bother or just put a veneer. They don't change anything except some labels.
That was kind of a powerful, and rather than taking the mindset change, they just say we are doing agile. Yeah, kind of follow-up question from myself. So how organizations are very keen on adopting business agility?
Sorry.
How keen are organizations in adapting business agility?
Oh, I think there's a big spectrum. There's a bell curve, and it's a big, it depends. There's some who, through the type of crisis that we're going through, are being forced into it and are realizing that if they want to survive, if they want to thrive, they have to become agile in their thinking. Organizations that didn't have any work from home policy, that within 3 weeks managed to actually have a complete infrastructure in place. Now, Herculean efforts by the infrastructure teams, but they did it. We know it can be done. So how do we make that the norm instead of the exception?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Next question is from Parag. When teams are agile and clients are service delivery are not agile, they want everything at the same point without prioritization. How to address such situations?
Stop lying. Stop pretending you can do it. Tell them the unpleasant truth that we could, we can give you a timeline that is so far in the future that we will be confident of delivering everything on that timeline. Or we can start being realistic and we can deliver things incrementally. Even the construction industry doesn't achieve. And they are working with much generally simpler products than what we work with. The knowledge worker environment, we are dealing in inherently complex and complicated elements that are at their core unpredictable. So use maybe something like a Monte Carlo simulation for forecasting, and stop lying to our customers that we can deliver on a fixed date. Start talking about the probability distribution of what we can deliver at what time period. I'm afraid as an industry, we have a history of lying to our customers because they don't want to hear bad news and we don't want to deliver bad news, so we will pretend that we can predict when every of those dates are in any way realistic.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Next question. Should adoption towards agility be considered as an investment?
My feeling is yes. Absolutely, and it's an investment in the future adaptability and survivability of the organization as a whole.
Hmm. Again, kind of follow up. So, what are some of the kind of hidden factors which affects organizations to adopt agility? Yeah, I mean everyone knows we should kind of at least adopt agile benefits, but what are the kind of hidden factors which affects them?
The biggest one is organizational culture. The biggest impediment to agile adoption at whatever brand of agility, but the agile mindset adoption is the culture in the organization that isn't able to tackle the hard, unpleasant truths of working in the 21st century uncertain environment. It is easier to tell lies than to confront the truthful realities of the way our organizations work today.
Okay. Next question is from Vishal. Who is accountable to implement or follow the agility in an industry if you do not have any agile coach?
The role of the agile coach is there to help. If you don't have an agile coach, you have to find ways to help yourself. Accountability is something that you take upon yourself. So if the organization doesn't have space for somebody in the role of an agile coach, well, how can I help my organization do better?
Yeah. Okay, next question. We know that we have certain metrics that are used to measure agile transformation progress. What about metrics related to business agility? Does vendors and suppliers are also included in this value stream?
The metrics that matter are the metrics that make a difference to your business. It's things like profitability, time to market, customer satisfaction, employee engagement. Those are the ones that matter. The vanity metrics about where you score on some mythical agility scoreboard or a framework adoption or number of teams that run a daily stand-up or whatever, they might inform the team on their journey, but the metrics that matter are the ones that actually make a difference to the business. So everything should be about achieving those organizational outcomes. And the four that I mentioned are, profitability matters, of course it does. Time to market matters for many organizations. Customer engagement, because that keeps customers coming back. And employee engagement and satisfaction. Because value in our organizations today is generated by the people that work in it. So employee satisfaction has become a critical success factor for businesses today. This is the driver for more humanistic workplaces. And does our vendors and suppliers included in this value stream? Yes. They are part of delivering that. So we need to, and we do start to think beyond our own organization into this whole value stream, delivering value to that client.
Thanks for that, Shane. Yeah, those are the questions in the chat window. Guys, you can unmute yourself probably and then ask questions if you have any.
I think I still have one question. I'm sorry. I think we have crossed the time. Is it possible? Can I ask? Or
Yeah, sure, you can.
okay, thanks. So I think Shane, I day on day speak to leaders. So I've got an opportunity on the enterprise level, and as you rightly said that I think it's a sandwich approach. Like definitely it has to start from the leadership, and we need to have some changes at the bottom. But often I sometimes feel that leaders are not learning and not very keen about agile. I think they're more about business terms, tangible things.
Yeah, agile doesn't matter to an executive. What matters to that executive is those important metrics: time to market, customer satisfaction, employee engagement, profitability. So stop talking to them about agile, talk to them about the things that matter. And oh, by the way, here is an approach that will help us get there.
I think, I think the certain times, initially when I used to talk about, there was a lot of agile words, but now I've just stopped them because I think that they don't want to hear that. They just want to hear about what business and what are those things which can, as you said, right? So those 4 metrics, otherwise we still have those vanity metrics, but we have right now excluded velocity or the other things. So we have removed those things out from our things, what we measure. But I think, again, but sometimes, they do not learn too much. Like sometimes I feel like, okay, now it's a time, like most of the leaders are learning, but how do we make sure that we help them to learn as well?
We have to be humble. Why is this person not learning? Probably because they got so many other pressures and things going on around them. So how can I help take some of that pressure so that there is space to learn? If you are feeling, you're working at 110, 120% capacity, there is no time to look around and stop, step back, look at the overall system, do the theory of constraints exploration, identify the bottlenecks in the flows. So how do we take some of that pressure off our leaders so that they've got time to look at things?
Thanks, Shane. I think there was some thought about leadership circle these days, and there was something on personal agility. I think I remember some of the leaders are doing that in some of the organizations.
Yeah.
I personally felt that, as you said, right? So they can embark their journey on that if given that time.
Yeah. Well, that is why we built the leadership track in the IC Agile Learning Roadmap, because there are competencies that leaders need to develop. There's things they need to explore and to learn about. And that's what's in the learning outcomes of the leadership track.
Thanks.
Okay. Again, kind of question from my side. So what do you suggest for people who are looking to find a career in kind of business agility?
In what space is it? From a learning perspective, where is your area of passion and focus? Find that and then go and learn. I'm going to have a bias towards the IC Agile learning pathways because that's what we do. And there are a lot of member organizations who are delivering great courses.
It's true. It's true. Okay, let me see if I have any questions.
Vishal makes a good point that we have to evolve the reporting and the metrics. So yes, the vanity metrics are there. Use them, but don't be blinded by them. and see how they do equate to the real metrics that matter in the organization.
Okay, thanks for that.
JP, I had a question. Can I go next?
Yeah, sure, Surya.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thanks, JP. Shane, so I work for a product-based setup, and so the issue which I find at my level, I work as a Scrum Master here, and I do catch up with my VPs and SVPs and executive level leadership folks. The issue which I have found, unfortunately, and that has been my very limited exposure towards the leadership and how they approach things. I still find that at an organization level, we are still in that project mindset, and somehow it is hampering a lot towards our business agility part, specifically. And the shift has been for last year or so. We have been trying, the group of Scrum Masters and Agile coaches, we've been trying to foster that culture of product mindset. I just want to understand from you, can you share some of your experiences or insights as how can this be done in a more collaborative and a more conflict free, I would say, like where people not come in conflicts, but also leaders at a leadership level, we can make them the importance to move away from this kind of mindset, because at the end of the day, the business agility has to come when you get into that mindset of actually because I'll just share an example. At the end of the day, we are still releasing out, like things are in production, but we actually roll out and we actually mails we actually do sales pitches to our vendors and customers once the entire feature is built. Now my one chunk of piece is already, the code is already in production, but we are not making the sales pitches from our sales teams until unless the entire feature is, like, the entire functionality is built out. Now this is one of those examples which I'm just sharing. So can you share more insights or your experiences as how can this be done in a more seamless and more effective manner?
The primary thing is to focus the conversations not on we need to be agile, but on what are the business problems that we need to address? What are the challenges that we face as an organization? And what are some approaches that can help us overcome them? And agility can help. And here is how it can help.
Okay.
So it's not about educating people on this is our agile, it's a wonderful thing. It's helping them to see the link between the challenges that they're facing and the potential solutions that we can bring to the table.
Makes sense. We have tried that bit, but unfortunately that is, as of now, it's not working. But yeah, because 1 year is just a very short period in terms to assess all of this. But let's hope any other inputs apart from just making sure that business outcomes or are the things which we should be addressing, rather than talking a lot about agility and ways to achieve that. Any other inputs?
Yeah, empathy and care.
Oh.
These are people who genuinely want to do a great job and things are getting in the way. How do I help them become more effective?
Makes sense. Thanks, Shane, and thanks, JP.
Thanks, Surya. Vishal has another point. If an organization failed at first attempt, then how can they start again? It's hard to explain them that it wasn't a failure as such. Think about you traveled from point A to point B, and still you need to go to point C, and treat this as a journey. But as you rightly said, the biggest impediment comes in way, which was the organization culture, and with this setback, the organization culture is more hampered.
Small wins and build trust. Don't make a lot of noise about the agile transformation. Just work with one team, help them get better, and talk about what it is that is making a difference, and then spread and spread. At the leadership level, again, that empathy and care, and talk about how we're going to achieve those business outcomes, and work towards helping achieve a more collaborative culture. And over time, and sometimes it won't happen. There are some organizations where the culture is so toxic that there actually shouldn't be there anyway. And they're not going to survive in an environment where value truly comes from people treated well. The Kaizen philosophy of one small step at a time. What's the next small win we can achieve? And yeah, Karen talks about the Reinventing Organizations book. It's a heavy read, but a really good one.
Okay, thanks for that, Shane. Okay, any questions, guys? Any more questions?
JP, sorry, I had actually missed that book name. Can you please come back again on the book name? Something was mentioning, no?
Reinventing Organizations by Frederick Laloux.
Okay, thank you.
It's a pretty heavy read. It's not a light book by any means, but it's got some deep advice. He's the one who talks about the different colors in organizational culture and moving towards green and teal. And again, I'll do the promotion for the IC Agile Learning Roadmap. That a lot of those ideas are embedded in the organization design new set of learning outcomes that we've just launched, and also in the leadership agility as well.
Okay, thanks for letting know us, Shane. Okay, we don't have any questions as such now. Okay, guys, if you have any questions, kindly kind of unmute and probably you can ask.
Yes, JP. Yeah. I do have a question. So, as we all know, in the work role as an agile coach, what actually typically happens is that we actually coach a team, and once we reach a stage, okay, the team is now really self-organized or really cross-functional to keep going. This particular agile coach is being disengaged from the team and then being mapped to some other team. So for the past 2 years, I see the same pattern of like I'm actually coaching a team for, let's say, 6 months, 8 months, and then once again being tagged to some other team. So sometimes on a personal front, I feel disappointed that I don't see a continuous sustainability in my role as an agile coach. So how do we see from your perspective?
This is one of the challenges, because the best coaches do work themselves out of a job. We work with a team, we help that team to become largely self-sustaining. They get the agile mindset, it becomes part of their culture and their way of working. And then they start to build the competencies and skills. And yeah, I'm free to go elsewhere to work with another team, and it can have there's a genuine feeling of loss as a coach, because I'm not working with that team that I've really enjoyed working with. And I'm back to working now with another team who I will enjoy working with, but at this stage it's a little bit of a challenge because they may be less far along on the journey than the team that I was working with. I've got no easy answer for that one, except make sure you do maintain contact with that team so that you get the you can see what's happening in terms of their growth and their fulfillment, and take solace from that.
Just to add one more point, my organization is actually expecting me to perform the role of a product manager for some other client. Now, as you have rightly pointed out, in that particular framework, we have business mastery, transformation mastery, and technical mastery. I do believe I have the competency of a transformation mastery, not a technical mastery or a business mastery. But when it comes to a product manager role, it is predominantly more of a shade of a business mastery, right? So I'm still not because we all know that in this particular pandemic situation, if I'm not on a billable role with some client, then my job is staying. So, but then I feel that I may not be the right guy for a product manager because over a prolonged span of time, I have been working as an agile coach. So, so any suggestions from me? Any kind of perspectives or suggestions from your end?
ICP PDM, there is a certification in product management on the IC Agile Learning Roadmap. Yeah, go and study, go and learn. Be honest about where you lack the skill, and then build up those competencies. If it truly is, you need to do this from a billable hours perspective, and you are comfortable, and as long as you're being clear and open with your leadership, with your customer, I'm bringing this. This is what I bring to the table, and this is what I'm learning. I would advise never lie. We're working on an Agile Alliance initiative at the moment where we're coming up with an ethical framework for Agile coaching. And one of the things that we're putting in there is never claim to have a competency that you do not have. Be honest if you're doing something that you don't have a lot of experience. You might have knowledge about, you've learned about, but I don't have the experience, but I'm going to work with you and together we will figure this out. That's perfectly okay. Don't lie and say, yeah, I'm a great product manager, I've done it lots.
Yes, Sean. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. There is another from Shvetendra. Any use case of preferring autocratic coaching or democratic coaching in an organization?
Autocratic coaching is a contradiction in terms. Engage with people and help them find their own path. You can clear the way for them. They choose whether or not they're going to follow you. You cannot live anyone else's lives. You cannot run anyone else's journey. All you can do is create a space in which you can invite them to follow along. So in my mind, the concept of autocratic coaching is a fundamental contradiction in terms and shouldn't exist.
Okay.
Coach is fundamentally a servant leader.
True, that's true. Okay, any questions, guys? Okay, you don't have some to, okay, what's your recommendation when we are given 4 or 5 times to enable agility? This question is from Sundaram.
Dance? How are they? Are these teams that have already got some agile background and experience? How much time can you spend? What is the context? Are there people who are at the team facilitator role, what Scrum calls the Scrum Master? Are there, or are you expected to take that role for all 4 or 5 teams? That's a big ask. So again, being realistic about your own capacity and ability to deliver value.
Shane, this is Srini. Are you able to hear me properly?
Yep.
Okay. Good morning from good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I don't know who are all there in different time zones. So the ask is 4 or 5 teams given, and then is it okay that I take couple of teams for piloting for a few months, and then I can I baseline the maturity level and expand it to the other teams to scale it up? Will it work? I'm just telling you one liner, but it may involve more activities to be done.
That certainly is one approach, and some organizations have been successful with it, others have failed. What's the experiment that you can do that will tell you whether that will work? So yeah, maybe take one team, do 1 or 2 sprints, see how that is happening, get feedback, and then look at, okay, what do I need to do with other teams? Can you take an approach that is about allowing the mitosis type approach, where you start with one small group, they become effective in their agility, and typically this is going to take 3 months. So one team, 10, 12 people. Then at the end of maybe 3 months, and again, you're going to have to experiment, you're going to have to explore with the team. That team becomes 2. You take half of, you split that team in half, and then you bring another, if the team is 12 people, you bring another 6. So now you've got 2 teams of 10 or 12, and those 2 teams take the time, and the new people, so the existing 6 people on the team teach the new people. That's going to take another couple of months. Then you do the mitosis split again. So now we've gone from 1 team to 2 teams to 4 teams, and then 8 teams, and then 16 teams. That is one approach that I have seen work.
Excellent, Shane. This is what I expected. You rightly pointed out. Thanks.
Thanks, Shane. Probably we'll have one last question, I guess. We just have 2 minutes. So if at all, if our community has to take back and kind of work on towards business agility this year, what that would be, Shane? We would like to hear from you.
Oh, what do we need to take back and work towards business agility? In the uncertain, crazy times that we're in today, the single most important aspect is not business agility, it's kindness. How can we be kind to each other? If we look around us in the state of the world at the moment, people are afraid. We're in lockdown in most countries. Our business agility is a way to achieve humanistic organizations. Simple human kindness is the thing that we need the most today. And that will enable our organizations to become agile.
That's really nice. Kindness. That's true. We hope the community, we are really kind of privileged to hear you about the business agility and then the questions that you answered. Thanks for your time and kind of talking to our community. We hope it was beneficial. Thanks,
Namaste.
Shane.
Thank you very much, folks, and thank you everyone
Thank you, Shane.
for coming and listening.
Thanks, Shane. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for organizing.
Thanks, JP. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, sir.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, sir.
And JP, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.